This was a historic year, and we're coming before you today with the introduction of what we think is historic legislation. If we go back in the year, we look at some of the accomplishments of the legislature. First and foremost, getting a budget done on time, some say early, filling a $10 billion hole without any new taxes, without borrowing. In response to over 80% of the people statewide listening to our constituents and the fact that property taxes were out of control, taxes in general out of control, we enacted a property tax cap. We also know, though, property tax cap is meaningless and it doesn't work without substantial mandate relief. And to date, while we did pass some mandate relief as part of the property tax cap legislation, it really was insignificant, although it was a start. But we look at where do we start? With the single largest state mandate. The single largest state mandate that drives property tax increases is clearly the most logical place to start, and that's Medicaid. Our legislation initially will freeze Medicaid spending to this current year level. So beginning in 2012, we're calling for freezing Medicaid spending, at least the local share of Medicaid spending, no increase. Later on in the year, we will begin phasing in the state takeover of Medicaid, which will take place over an 8-year period. The first year alone, we'd anticipate that this will save local property tax payers, whether it's businesses or individuals, and county budgets, over $250 million. For too long, the states developed newer expanded programs and saddled local governments with the significant responsibility for funding them. Pretty easy to be generous when someone else is paying the bill. We're looking at a number of different things, and you might ask yourself how we're going to pay for it. Steve already mentioned the Affordable Care Act and the potential savings and efficiencies that will ultimately be realized by that. We look at the Medicaid redesign team, the work that has started, and what we see in the future is the efficiencies and the savings generated by that. We know that in the past couple of years, New York State passed legislation that required the state takeover of the administration of Medicaid. So the state would completely take it over, but up to this point in time, prior to the introduction and passage of this legislation, counties would still be responsible to pay for it. And as we look forward to an improved economy, we would anticipate additional revenues being available if necessary, but we don't even think that in fact would be necessary. So this is not a cost shift. It's not just shifting a level of funding from one government to another. It's a first step in bringing greater accountability to state government and making sure that policymaking is aligned with fiscal responsibility.